It is 4:45 in the morning in Wadi Rum, and the desert is the color of a bruise just before it heals. Purple, then orange, then nothing but light. A Bedouin guide named Mahmoud pours coffee from a blackened pot balanced on 3 stones. He has done this every morning for 11 years, in the same spot, waiting for the same sun. Somewhere behind him, 700 million years of sandstone rises out of the earth like the bones of something that used to be alive. And somewhere further off, a lone camel bell rings out across the silence, like the only clock this valley has ever needed. This is Jordan, and the question was never whether it is beautiful. The question is what that beauty is standing next to. Jordan sits wedged between Israel, Syria, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia, a small, resource-poor kingdom of roughly 11 million people, surrounded on almost every side by countries that have spent the last 2 decades at war. It has no significant oil reserves, it has almost no fresh water, and yet it has survived stable for over 70 years in a region where stability is the rarest resource of all. The capital, Amman, is built across 19 hills called Jabals, each one its own neighborhood with its own personality. From the old souks of downtown, thick with the smell of cardamom and diesel, to the espresso bars and rooftop lounges of Jabal Amman, where the same city suddenly feels a decade younger. Nearly half the country's entire population lives in and around this one city. The rest is desert. Actual, genuine, nothing for 100 miles desert, broken only by the occasional Bedouin tent, a herd of goats, or a satellite dish standing incongruously in the sand. This is Jordan, a kingdom that shouldn't have survived on paper, built on a foundation of sand and stubbornness, and somehow still standing while its neighbors burned. Now the part almost no visitor expects. Here's a fact that says more about Jordan than almost anything else. This is one of the most water-scarce countries on the entire planet, ranked among the very lowest in freshwater resources per capita worldwide, with households in some neighborhoods receiving piped water only once a week, stored in black rooftop tanks that dot every skyline in the country. And yet Jordan has, for decades, hosted more refugees per capita than almost any nation on earth. Palestinians in 1948 and again in 1967, Iraqis after 2003, over 1 million Syrians after 2011, arriving with nothing but plastic bags and children on their hips. A country that struggles to give its own citizens enough water has, again and again, opened its border to people with none at all. Hold on to that. We will get there. Because in the Zaatari camp alone, home to roughly 80,000 Syrian refugees, an entire functioning city grew out of raw desert, with its own street market nicknamed the Champs-Élysées, its own barber shops, wedding halls, tailor shops, and bicycle repair stalls, building an economy estimated in the millions of dollars a month. Created by people who arrived owning nothing at all, Jordan didn't choose its geography, but it chose over and over what to do with it. Food here is an argument for slowing down. Mansaf, lamb cooked in fermented dried yogurt called jamid, served over a bed of rice with almonds and toasted pine nuts, isn't just the national dish, it's a ritual. Eaten by hand from a shared communal platter at weddings, funerals, graduations, and ordinary Fridays alike. You don't eat mansaf. You are inducted into it, standing shoulder to shoulder with people who may have been strangers an hour earlier. Alongside it sits messy culture inherited from across the Levant. Hummus swirled with olive oil, warm flatbread pulled straight from a Saj griddle, tangy fattoush salad, and sticky sweet nafe for dessert. Its orange cheese pastry glistening under crushed pistachio. The climate swings hard, scorching, dry summers where Amman regularly hits 35 Turso, and the Jordan Valley clears 40 Tidinding without much effort, against winters cold enough to dust snow across the hills of the capital most years. Traffic in Amman is its own culture. Roundabouts instead of traffic lights, taxi drivers who double as tour guides and amateur philosophers mid-fare, and a driving style best described as confident negotiation rather than anything resembling rules. Family sits at the absolute center of everything here. Multi-generational households are the norm, not the exception, with grandparents, parents, and children often sharing a single building across separate floors. Sunday isn't the weekend in Jordan. Friday and Saturday are, and Friday prayers followed by a long, unhurried family lunch is as close to sacred as any schedule gets. Street cats roam everywhere, tolerated with the same shrugging affection found across much of the Levant, curling up on cafe chairs and car hoods like they pay rent. And somewhere, always, someone is roasting coffee beans with cardamom over an open flame, the smell drifting out of a doorway like an invitation you didn't know you needed until it hit you. Yes, this is the part the title promised. Jordan, like much of the Levant, has long carried a regional reputation for striking beauty, and Jordanian women in particular are frequently highlighted in conversations about Middle Eastern aesthetics. Sharp features, dark hair, an unmistakable presence that travelers often mention within the first day of arriving. But here's the genetic and historical context that gets lost in the thumbnail. Jordan has been a crossroads for thousands of years. Nabatean, Roman, Byzantine, Arab, Circassian, Armenian, Ottoman, Chechen. The population here is not a single genetic story. It is a deeply layered one, shaped by trade routes and passing empires that all stopped through on their way to somewhere else and left something behind. There is no organized beauty industry built around this, the way there might be in a pageant-obsessed nation elsewhere. No dominant beauty export economy propping up the reputation. What exists instead is a far less photogenic reality. Extraordinarily high expectations placed on Jordanian women to be simultaneously beautiful, modest, educated, and domestically flawless. Often all at once, all the time, starting young. But here's a fact that says more about a whole country than any thumbnail ever could. Jordan actually has one of the highest female university enrollment rates in the entire Arab world. In many recent academic years, more Jordanian women graduate from university than Jordanian men do, and yet female labor force participation remains among the lowest in the region, hovering around just 14% of the eligible workforce. Read that gap again. More degrees earned, fewer jobs held. That is not a beauty story at all. That is a story about a society still working out what to do with the potential of half its population, sitting on credentials with nowhere sanctioned to spend them. So if the title brought you in for beauty, stay for the fact that Jordanian women are, statistically, among the most educated in the entire Arab world, filling lecture halls and graduating with honors, and still fighting, quietly, patiently, generation after generation, to be let fully into the rooms where decisions actually get made. Jordan's story, underneath all of it, is a story of surviving between empires. This land felt the Nabateans build Petra as a trading capital rivaling Rome itself, controlling incense and spice routes that stretched from Arabia to the Mediterranean. It felt Rome absorbed the region afterward, leaving behind the astonishing ruins of Jerash, one of the best preserved Roman provincial cities anywhere on earth. Its colonnaded streets and oval forum still standing intact after 2,000 years of wind and war. It felt the long Ottoman centuries pass overhead, then the birth of the modern kingdom in 1946 under King Abdullah I, then the 1967 war that reshaped its borders and its population practically overnight, then decades of absorbing shock waves from conflicts it never started, in Palestine, in Iraq, and most recently in Syria. Jordan has taken in wave after wave of people running from catastrophe, and it has done so as one of the poorer countries in its neighborhood, without the oil wealth cushioning the Gulf states sitting just beside it. Resilience here is not a marketing word stitched onto a tourism brochure. It is written into the census data decade after decade, and into the small details too. The taxi driver who was once an engineer in Damascus, the pharmacist in Amman who spent her childhood in a refugee camp outside Baghdad, the grandmother who has buried a husband, outlived 2 wars, and still insists on cooking for 12 every Friday like nothing was ever taken from her. Here is where the armchair daydream becomes a spreadsheet. A cappuccino in a nice Amman cafe can run you 3 to 4 Jordanian dinars, roughly $4 to $5.50 US. That is genuinely expensive by regional standards, comparable to prices you would find in parts of Western Europe. Meanwhile, the average monthly wage in Jordan sits somewhere around 500 to 600 dinars, roughly $700 to $850 US, for a huge share of the working population, and youth unemployment has hovered north of 40% in recent years, among the highest rates anywhere in the region. Petra's entry fee for foreign tourists is 50 dinars for a single day, around 70 US dollars, a price point set specifically for international visitors. While many Jordanians working in the tourism economy that surrounds it earn a fraction of that figure across a full day's labor. This is the secret the title promised, in numbers rather than imagery. The cheapness a tourist feels in Jordan is not really cheapness at all. It is a distance measured in someone else's hours. If you have made it this far and you're enjoying the journey, a like and a subscribe genuinely help this channel keep making videos like this one. But the danger here is not entirely what most people assume from the headlines. Jordan is, statistically, one of the safer countries in the entire Middle East. Violent crime is low, and the government has invested heavily in tourist security, especially around Petra, Wadi Rum, and central Amman, with a visible but generally unobtrusive police presence at every major site. The danger is real, but it rarely looks like what the news implies. Scams targeting tourists, inflated taxi fares, aggressive unofficial guide solicitations near major sites, and jewelry or souvenir markups aimed squarely at first-time visitors are common enough that most guidebooks warn about them by name. More seriously, Jordan sits on the doorstep of some of the most volatile borders on the planet. The frontier regions near Syria and Iraq carry genuine security concerns, and international travel advisories consistently flag the areas immediately along those borders as higher risk, even while central and southern Jordan remain calm, stable, and heavily visited without incident. And there is a quieter danger, rarely discussed on camera. Gender-based violence and so-called honor crimes remain a documented, if slowly diminishing issue in parts of Jordanian society, despite meaningful legal reforms in recent years that have toughened penalties and closed old loopholes. It is a hard truth sitting underneath the postcard, and it deserves to be said plainly rather than glossed over for the sake of a prettier video. But look closer, because the natural grandeur here genuinely rivals anything else on Earth. The Dead Sea, the lowest point on the entire surface of the Earth at roughly 430 meters below sea level, is so dense with salt and minerals that the human body simply cannot sink into it. You do not swim in the Dead Sea. You float on it involuntarily, almost comically, like the water itself is arguing with gravity and winning. Its black mineral mud is scooped up and smeared on skin by tourists and locals alike, said to soothe everything from psoriasis to sore joints. And the surrounding air itself is unusually oxygen-rich thanks to the sheer depth of the basin. Wadi Rum, the Valley of the Moon, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site of red sandstone and towering granite formations, so otherworldly that it has stood in for the surface of Mars in multiple major films. At night, with essentially zero light pollution for miles in every direction, the Milky Way spreads directly overhead, like something spilled across the sky and never cleaned up. And then there is Petra itself, the Rose City, carved directly into sandstone cliffs by the Nabateans well over 2,000 years ago. Its most famous facade, the Treasury, hidden at the end of a narrow winding gorge called the Seek, that stretches for over a kilometer before suddenly opening onto one of the most photographed buildings on Earth. It was lost to the Western world for centuries, rediscovered only in 1812 by a Swiss explorer disguised as a local traveler, and today stands as one of the new seven wonders of the world. A river that escaped paradise, cut straight through solid stone, and left behind a city that still does not look entirely real, even in person, even when you are standing inside it. If this country is going to pull you in, here is where to put your feet first. Start in Amman and give it 2 full days minimum. Wander the Roman theater downtown, still used for concerts after nearly 2,000 years. Eat your first plate of mansaf without apology, and get lost deliberately in the gold souks near Rainbow Street until the sun goes down. Climb up to the Amman Citadel at golden hour, where the Temple of Hercules stands half collapsed against the sky, turning the same rose color as Petra's cliffs. And the entire city unrolls beneath you in a haze of limestone and satellite dishes. From there, head to Jerash, an easy day trip north of the capital, for Roman ruins so intact you can still stand in the original chariot ruts worn into the ancient stone streets, and still hear your own footsteps echo off columns that have outlasted every empire that built them. Then comes Petra, and it deserves a full 2 days, not the rush single day most tour groups allow. Most visitors sprint to the treasury and leave satisfied but incomplete. The monastery, roughly an hour's hike further up a steep stone staircase, sees a fraction of the crowds and is arguably even more impressive once you are standing in front of it, alone, catching your breath, with nothing but a lone Bedouin selling tea from a folding table for company. Consider entering at dawn before the tour buses arrive, when the sikh is empty enough that your own footsteps sound like the only ones in 2,000 years. On the way south, break the drive at Little Petra, a smaller, quieter cousin of the main site, free of crowds and entry fees alike, where you can climb narrow stone staircases carved directly into the rock without another soul in sight. Wadi Rum comes next on the route, and it deserves one full night in a Bedouin desert camp, not merely a rushed daytime jeep tour. The stars alone are worth the detour, and so is the silence. And so is the sunrise when the entire valley turns gold in under 10 minutes flat. Finish the journey at the Dead Sea, floating and coating yourself in mineral mud, while the sun sets behind the hills of Israel and the West Bank on the opposite shore, before flying out through Amman's Queen Aliyah International Airport. For travelers with a few extra days to spare, the Dana Biosphere Reserve is a genuine hidden gem. Jordan's largest nature reserve, where you can hike from cool mountain terrain down into raw desert canyon in a single continuous day, seeing almost no other tourists along the entire route, past sandstone villages that seem to grow directly out of the cliffside. Aqaba, on the Red Sea coast, rounds out the trip nicely for anyone craving a final day of coral reefs and shipwreck diving before heading home. A quiet reminder that this landlocked-feeling kingdom does, in fact, have a coastline, however small. So here is the mirror. Jordan is a country that has almost nothing in the way of natural resources, sits surrounded by instability on nearly every single border, and has still managed to build one of the most stable, welcoming nations anywhere in its region. One that keeps opening its doors to people who have nowhere else left to go. It is a place where the women are, yes, striking, but where their real story is a hard-earned university degree and a labor market not yet ready to fully use it. Where the ruins are staggering enough to stop conversation entirely, but the people walking past them every single day are working jobs that do not yet match what this country is clearly capable of. Maybe the real question was never whether Jordan is beautiful. It is whether you have ever once lived a single day the way they live, absorbing history's shocks, one generation after another, without complaint and still finding room, every single Friday, for a shared plate of mansaf and the people they love.